My name is Peter Dove, author of Master Dressage and co-author of Master Dressage The Basics. And today we're going to talk about how to come up the centre line and also how to turn left or turn right at centre lines and get yourself nice and straight. Some may think that coming up the centre line should be easy. You turn up the centre line and make sure your horse stays straight. Unfortunately, that level of instruction, perhaps if you went for a golfing lesson and somebody said to you, I want you to hit the ball and make sure it stays straight, well, you'd kind of be thinking you weren't getting your money's worth. And true enough, to come up the centre line, it's a lot more complicated than looking where you're going and staying straight. So hopefully we'll break that down for you today. It's only going to be about 5 minutes of video. I wanted to keep this short so that people could, watch it in the free moments that they've got. So we'll start now. So one of the very first things you have to make sure is you know exactly how far away from the marker that you're going to start your turn to be able to come up the centre line. This is really important because this sets the radius of the quarter circle that you have to make to get onto the centre line. If you are this distance away from A, you need to be aiming at a point on the centre line which is of similar distance, since you're actually making a quarter turn. The other thing I'd say to riders is a lot of people create bend, start the turn, and then kind of switch off, thinking that the horse will continue the turn for them. But in actual fact, you need to keep turning every single stride until your horse is straight on the centre line. So when you start your turn, it's important to think of every single step around the quarter circle that you make as something that you're making happen. So the horse starts the turn and starts the turn and makes the turn and keeps turning until you're perfectly straight. You should be very careful of making the kind of turn where you pull on the inside rein and the horse starts coming round the shoulder like this. This is often where you'll find yourself overshooting the centre line. The final thing I'll say about coming up the centre line is once you've chosen the distance that you're going to make your turn, it's important to look at the marker you're heading towards. So you're looking at C and you keep your eyes fixed there as you start the turn. And you keep doing that so that you can make adjustments as you need to as you come round onto the centre line. So my advice is, know how far away from the marker you need to start your turn. Keep looking at the letter C. Keep making sure that the horse steps around the turn, doesn't jackknife, and has a appropriate quarter circle for the training level of the horse. In the USA, USAF tests state that for the lower level horses, it's quite satisfactory for the horse to be doing a half 10-meter circle to get themselves onto the centre line. So they don't have to go deep into the corner and they don't have to get to the letter before they make their turn. So now from the opposite angle, we're going to look at turning right or left when you get to the top. Now, this is still A marker rather than us taking our filming equipment to the top, but imagine you had gotten all the way up your centre line and you're going to turn right at C. I see at the lower level a lot of horses looking confused when they get to this marker. So let me give you a little bit of advice. Before you start the turn, make sure you have a very slight bend just before you start the turn. The same principle applies, that we should know what radius of quarter circle that we're going to take. How far away from the letter are you going to start your turn? Obviously, the more advanced horse, the further forward you can start your turn at. And again, you should know where on the track you're aiming to get when you start your turn. So you could start your turn from here, start making your turn, and know that you're going to hit the track here. By having a small bend in the direction you're about to go before you make the turn, the horse is at least somewhat warned in which direction you're going in and won't look confused as it approaches the track. So know how far away from from C, whichever way you're turning, you're going to start your turn. Know where it is you're going to hit the track. create a little bit of bend beforehand, and then start your turn. Again, don't just create a whole lot of inside bend, have the horse fall onto its shoulder and have no idea where you're heading towards. Always try and ride an accurate quarter circle. And this is the approach that you should be taking with all of your turns. That you know exactly how far away from the marker you need to start your turn and exactly what kind of radius you're taking with your horse. That same attitude goes for corners too. I've got a little bit of footage tacked onto the end of this video which just shows what correct turning looks like and incorrect turning looks like. This is so that you can get an idea of whether you're turning correctly through the shoulders or whether perhaps you have too much inside bend and your horse is falling onto the outside shoulder. It's a typical mistake at the lower levels that riders have too much bend and a horse falling onto the outside shoulder. So look out in your mailbox in the next few days for the next video, and good luck with your up the center lines.
The first section is of a pony turning incorrectly. It's actually doing a 10-meter circle here, but you can have an idea of what might happen if you tried to turn like this onto the center line. The second section is the pony turning correctly, and you can see that although this is still an intro pony, you can see how turning this way can help you more accurately place the horse's shoulders onto the center line.